Okay, that means we have to start all over again, which it's fine. Let's call that a warm-up. And dang it, I thought I was really on fire too. So I'll start from the beginning then. Okay, so good evening. Happy World Watercolor Month. We didn't get a chance to stream last week, was busy working on Kickstarter prep. Still working on Kickstarter prep, but it's really important for me to hang out with you guys. Partially because it's World Watercolor Month, and also because we have some really big, exciting news. You can already see that on the stream. So for this week's stream, week before last, we talked about painting people in watercolor, mixing skin tones, mixing blushes, mixing shadow tones. This week, we're going to build on that. We're going to paint this illustration. There just isn't enough time for me to paint 9 different illustrations to represent 9 different people, but we are going to paint this one tonight. If you'd like to paint along with me, you're very welcome to. If you're an art nerd, you already have access to the line art for this. You can print it out using a toner printer onto watercolor paper, or you could use an inkjet printer and ink it like I've done here. If you're not an art nerd and you'd like to purchase this line art to color, you can do so on Gumroad. Both of the links are in the description underneath this video. If you do color this line art though and share it on social media, I'd really appreciate it if you tag me at NatoSoup, because I'd love to check out the work that you're making. So we are going to paint this either with the beautiful, the vibrant, the brilliant Core Mini palette, which we've talked about here on the channel before. We've reviewed it. So if you're interested in that palette, there's a review for that. Or we're going to use the Da Vinci mixing set. It's also a 12 color palette. So either palette we're working with tonight is a limited color palette, and we're going to be mixing a lot of our own colors. Both of these palettes were purchased by me out of pocket for the purposes of review, and I happen to just fall in love with both of these. So these are excellent daily driver kind of palettes that I really enjoy using. But they were purchased using funds generated from Patreon. So if you enjoy the work that I do here on the channel, you like early access videos, and you want free line arts like every week, you can join me over at patreon.com/NatoSoup. So we have some big news. I am super excited. I've been teasing and hinting and mentioning that 7-inch Kara Volume 2 is going live on Kickstarter soon. We have a date. It is going to be July 11th, and I'm hosting a pajama party here on YouTube to celebrate. I'm super excited about it. So if you back at the Volume 2 physical level, anything at that level or higher, you get a free sketch request next week during our pajama party. So if you want to support the project, day one would be a great way to do it. And then all month long, I have fun things planned to kind of share my excitement for finally reaching Kickstarter, finally having Volume 2 finished with you guys. And Joseph's been working on a really great Kickstarter video. I'm excited to share that with you guys as well. I'm super proud of the work he's done, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. So I'm excited to be able to share that with you guys. And I assume Joseph, because he is super awesome, has been dropping the links in the chat. Awesome, thank you. So if you're new to 7-inch Kara, you can read the first 6 chapters for free at 7inchkara.com. So it is also available as a webcomic, and we started chapter 7 yesterday. So we are back from hiatus. I'm going to be sharing a page a week since we've got the Kickstarter also going on. I'd put it on hiatus for so long so I could finish up Volume 2 and kickstart it so that there'd be lots of new content for people who choose to support my work. So you can check out 7-inch Kara at 7inchkara.com. And if you enjoy my art, if you find it appealing, if you find it cute and you want to keep up with what's going on, I'd love it if you followed me on Instagram. If you're a fellow artist, just send me a message and I'll follow you back. And I share all kinds of things, well, mostly art, all kinds of things of art. There's a lot of sneak peeks as to what's going to go live on the channel, particularly when it comes to reviews. And you can usually find those in the stories. Like, for example, here's a sneak peek of me painting on the floor. So these are some illustrations that I'm working on. This is actually how I do most of my painting if I'm not painting for YouTube. So it's awful on the back. I usually have an anti-fatigue mat that I sit on, but I picked it up because it has had years of watercolor spilled into it and it looks super gross. So I'm painting on the floor and my back is killing me. It's punishing me for it. So you get those kind of sneak peeks if you follow me over on Instagram. And then finally, as we talked about, you can support the work that I do in a financial way over on Patreon. You're absolutely not required to do that, but if you like what I do, art supplies are very expensive, and in a recent poll as to what people enjoy most on this channel, reviews won by like an 80% margin. They won by a landslide. And this channel is not sponsored. We don't have a Raycon or a NordVPN or any kind of outside sponsorship other than Patreon. So if you enjoy the reviews, your support on Patreon allows me to continue those reviews, and I really, really appreciate it. I always try to make and share things with my wonderful patrons. In fact, on that note, I am making a special exclusive blog during the Kickstarter where I talk about the Kickstarter process and I talk about manufacturing the different products that are going to be included in the Kickstarter, and I'm going to talk about laying out the book and those sort of things. And no one's going to get to see it except for the backers on Kickstarter and my amazing patrons. So that's just something to think about. And one final order of business. So I have some really cute laser cut wooden charms to give away. I designed them myself, and Joseph and I had them cut by a company called Pinocchio, and they're really quite popular at cons. So this is where the giveaway part comes in. Anybody within the US, unless you want to pay for shipping, anybody in the US will get sent one of these free. I'll pay to ship it to you. It comes out of my pocket if you're willing to record yourself saying what you enjoy about 7-inch Kara. It can be the webcomic, it can be volume 1. If you've seen advanced pages of volume 2, it can be volume 1 and 2. You don't have to show your face. You can literally record your cat playing with a ball of yarn while you talk about Kara. That's golden. You can send a voice memo. That works too. We need your reviews. We need your input for the Kickstarter video and to help promote volume 2. Plus, I just want to hear from you guys. It gets a little bit lonely working from home during quarantine. So you get your pick of one of these charms. Let me know. What?
Switch the camera so that the
Oh, yeah, thank you. Good point.
they're hard to see.
They are a little hard to see. Thank you. So you get your choice of these very cute. They're actually very durable too. And some of them have pin backs. Some of them have stick pin backs. Some of them have charm loops, and I'm happy to put it on. I have star keychains and I have necklaces for you guys. So you get to pick from these. We have bobcats, we have dinos, we have the very popular coffee mermaid. I think we all can identify with her. We have Llama Love. We've got these really cute strawberries and strawberry flowers. We have a lucky bouquet. There's even a 4-leaf clover in there. We've got the Winky Witch. She's super cute. And we have this really adorable succulent trio for you to choose from. So what I would like for you to do is record that, upload it to Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox. I think all of those have a free tier. Send me a link via email, and when you send that email, send me your mailing address and I'll send off your charm. Okay, so I think that covers all of the news that I needed to talk to you guys about. Hi Tolly, good evening. Hey Tanner, how are you? I like how my secondary recording device decides to like quietly start to die. So I think we can just go ahead and dive into painting. Do you guys have a preference between the Core Mini palette or the Da Vinci palette? She's going to have a darker skin tone. So, but that either of these palettes will work for that, and I can show you guys how to mix that. No, Joseph, what's your preference? Which one should I use?
I can't see them yet. I would say not the Core. What's the other?
Not the Core, the Da Vinci mixing palette. Sounds good to me because I use the Core palette a lot. And I mean, that's a testament to how much I enjoy it. And as promised, I am dual recording this, and I'm going to time lapse the other recording, so there'll be like a 30-minute version of this tutorial available. Awesome. All right. So the materials I'm using for this demonstration, this was actually printed and then inked on the Arteza Expert. That is their cotton rag paper. I reviewed it a while back. It's good, but it's expensive. It costs more than Arches does, and it's probably comparable to Stonehenge Aqua. So, you know, I would just go with Stonehenge Aqua or Arches. They're cheaper. It was inked with a Sakura Pigma FB, which is a waterproof and alcohol marker proof brush pen. I've used Bulldog clips and blue tape to secure it, but I think now that it's been stretched, I can remove these because they are causing some warping. Give me a sec. And you can use way smaller clips than these if you so I stretched it to the chipboard back of an old watercolor pad, since all of my gator boards are currently in use and sitting all over the floor. I'm going to use this little bottle of Korean watercolor glue just to prop it up, and that kind of allows the pigments to settle a little bit better when you're painting. If possible, you don't want to paint completely flat. I have the winner, the Da Vinci watercolor palette. I have a selection of watercolor brushes. I'm a big fan of natural watercolor brushes, so that's what I tend to use, but use what you're comfortable with. I have some Series 7s in here. I have some Silver Black Velvet, which is a synthetic and squirrel mix, and then I have some squirrel brushes in there. And then I have a cup of clean water with a paint puck in the bottom just to help me scrub the pigments out of the bristles. It kind of helps prevent muddy colors. And then I've got a couple of palettes. We have a ceramic one, and then we have a small, very cheap Dollar Tree 6-weld one. So not too many materials today. And then something else that I'm not seeing, and I'm gonna have to go grab it off screen, is I'm gonna use a few, here's one, a few eyedroppers, and that just kind of helps with applying water to the palette. Hey B, good evening. The Silver Black Velvet is great. Unfortunately, at Plaza, it's expensive, but they last a really long time, and Bowie doesn't want to eat it, so that's a plus for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this interior ring with a ultramarine blue because I am a creature of habit. I'm also going to paint the shadow of her eyes, kind of like we did with all the kids we painted week before last. And I hope, I mean, it's only the 4th, so I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me on the 4th of July. You know, being safe at home is really the best way to spend the 4th of July perhaps this year. I know Nashville canceled their fireworks, almost said watercolor celebration. That's like the opposite of fireworks. It's quiet and water-based instead of loud and fire-based. They canceled it this year because we kind of slid back into phase 2. We were in phase 3, and I guess too many people were going out to the bars. And
still officially in phase 3. It's just basically phase 2.
They basically told us we're going back to phase 2. So they canceled the watercolor celebration this year, which, you know, I don't think Joseph and I were going to make, we've never made it out there. We've, watercolor. Of course I did. Of course I did. I just grabbed a scrap of paper just for color swatching. We didn't make it to the fireworks this year. But we've lived here how many years now? 7? And we've never made it to the fireworks. So. But hopefully, all y'all got to do at least something fun today. Fun or relaxing or fulfilling. And I really like Da Vinci's ultramarine blue. It's like my favorite ultramarine blue. It's not overly granulating, and it's a very clean ultramarine. Like for years, I really didn't like ultramarine blue because when companies use cheaper gum arabics as a binder, I can actually show you guys what I'm talking about. So this is gum arabic. This is what's typically used. Mine's getting gross. Like it's got sediment on the bottom. I don't actually use it a whole lot except to show people what gum arabic looks like. And it's used as a binder in the paint to kind of allow it to disperse. It allows it to harden in pans or be pourable in a tube. And it also allows it, when you add water, to reactivate. Honey is also a very popular binder. Anyway, though, gum arabic is very yellow, and it has a tendency to kind of mute colors like ultramarine blue. So for years I didn't like it because I was using like Winsor & Newton, which adds a lot, has kind of a very yellow gum arabic, or heaven forbid Soho, which, you know, I like Soho actually. It used to be, it was a Jerry's Artorama brand, and I think they've discontinued the tubes, and it's very cheap. And some colors performed much better than others, so it was very inconsistent as well. But it was like, for a student grade watercolor, it was pretty good. But I wasn't a big fan of their ultramarine blue either. So Tanner's talking about the Nashville fireworks display and mentioned that the traffic is horrid. And I think that's what's always, everyone we've ever talked to who's gone to it has said that also, and has said it wasn't worth the stress. So I think that's why, even though every year we've talked about going, every year we've blown it off. I really like fireworks though. My home parish, and I don't know how many times I've talked about this with you guys, so y'all just have to bear with me. My home parish, so in Louisiana we don't have counties, they're called parishes. And my home parish is made up of like about 30 tiny little towns. Okay, so it's a sparsely populated area with a lot of land to cover. And every year they would have a fireworks show at the bridge park, so the fireworks were usually over the river. And last year why was I in Luling? Oh, for Destrehan Comic-Con. I was in Luling for the 4th of July, so I went with my family, and my younger brother is a volunteer firefighter, so he helped out with the fireworks display. So I grew up with like those kind of fireworks shows where like everybody rolls up and has like their coolers, and they bring a picnic basket, and it's very low key. We almost could have gone this year. So close. Next year we'll go. Hey, Hema, good evening. So these are apple blossoms surrounding her. I had a mother and child image I was considering doing that had peach blossoms, and I think I just leaned away from it because it was 2 people to paint instead of 1 person to paint. I've been painting all week, so I was like, I don't know how much paint I've got in me. We can hear the fireworks, but we can't, well, no, we can't really see them. I bet if we climbed up to Love Circle, which is this little park on top of this hill in my neighborhood, we could probably see, there are people probably setting off fireworks up there, but they've sent out a lot of police warnings on Nextdoor, and I don't feel like dancing that tango.
Did you miss that? Tally asked if you prefer plastic or ceramic palettes.
Oh, I did miss that. Sorry about that, Tally. That's a really good question. I have a lot of plastic palettes because they're inexpensive and they travel really well. But I think I like ceramic palettes better because the paint picks up a lot cleaner and they're easier to clean. They don't travel as well though. I like how we have like a regular gang. I mean, I know you'll normally hang out with me during the week too, but still, I like it. Yeah, I'm really into some of my favorite flowers. Most of my favorite flowers come from fruiting plants. For our wedding, I really wanted cherry blossoms, but I knew A, you can't get them this time of year for sure. They're super gone. And B, I knew all my friends would be like, Becca, while secretly being jealous. So then I wanted apple blossoms, but those are almost as crazy seasonal. Quince blossoms are really nice too, though. You still could watch it from your apartment, Tanner. Just pop the stream on the laptop and then put it in front of a window and enjoy both. Why choose? I hope nobody's pets are freaking out over the fireworks, though. What if fake flowers? You know, I really considered fake flowers. Then I could have had my cherry blossoms, and they have some really nice fakes. The thing about, and they honestly, fake flowers cost about as much as real flowers, and then I could have styled it myself. So I did think about it a fair amount. But my consideration is then I have all these flowers that I bought for a wedding that I don't have anything to really do with them.
It's Goodwill.
Yeah, Goodwill. Yeah, you'd have loved that. The other, and I like fake flowers, like don't get me wrong, this is coming from both sides. The other problem with fake flowers is they're often made of like plastic and polyester, and we've been trying really hard to kind of cut back on throwing away that kind of stuff. I would think your birds would be super into, I guess they must be chiller than my family's birds. Probably because you actually spend time with them. These birds are so cute though. Whenever they share photos of them, I'm like, oh. See, I'm a sucker for like other people's pets. Like I like birds, but they have to be someone else's birds because my family's birds, they're okay, but like they're very bitey. I think they might have a fake flower rental for like big things like a flower arch or something. So the thing about the wedding industry as a whole is you got to be really careful about who you tell, which vendors you're like, oh yeah, it's for a wedding, because they will charge twice as much for things. And I am not about that like getting stiffed life. I am sure the secondary recording divicular has hit its 10 minutes max, but that's okay. Ah, no. All right, so I've got some ultramarine in the wrong section. So that's an easy fix. You just dab it up. I'm going to paint over it with a really dark brown later on anyway, so it's not a big deal. I'm not excited about getting wedded, but I am excited about being married to Joseph. because then we can go on more adventures together. Boy, it sounds like thunder, but I guess it's the rocket's red glare. Hema, that bird sounds really cute. It's like a mama bird or a daddy bird parenting all the kids. A parent bird. I'm also going to have to stop and take stretch breaks pretty regularly because I goofed my back. So I encourage y'all to stretch with me. Maybe I ought to make this one into a draw this in your style. I've always wanted to participate in that, but frankly, Instagram etiquette, I don't spend enough time on it to like understand it the way I kind of understand Twitter's, so I just don't participate in things because I don't want to like do it wrong and be accused of like art theft. And I guess I'm kind of too lazy to figure it out. Stretch stream. That's emulating some good behavior. Oof. Yeah, my back is like, girl, you need to stretch. So what I did is on the upper halves of her eyes, I used that same ultramarine blue to kind of create this shadow, and then I blended it out going down and around with a little bit of clean water. All right, y'all. It's stretch cast. And also restart the phone. Ooh. Oh, really? I don't have to like, I don't know. I thought I had to do more, but that actually is pretty easy. Calisthenics. I'm not the one to be doing. Not a good example of like proper, yeah. Okay, so while that dries, I'm going to, give me a second, because I need to turn on the, okay, so that's going to be my reference, and I'm going to pop out this chat so I can see y'all. Welcome to the live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Okay, so I said I wanted to give her a darker skin tone. So, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix her skin tone and then I'll figure out the blush and shadow colors. So I'm using some Burnt Sienna Transparent PBR 7. And the beautiful thing about the Da Vinci paints is they activate so quick. I love these paints so much. I loaned Allie the Da Vinci set and the core set, and Allie loved them both, but I think Allie loved the Da Vinci ones more. They are really good paints. Oh, okay, I gotcha. In that instance, plastic is really good. With acrylic, if you used like a ceramic plate, you could just peel the acrylic off when you were done for the day. So you might want to try that. It might be easier. I'm going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson as well. And that's going to dry lighter, but it could be a good base skin tone. So I'll set it aside. And I'm going to go with Permanent Quin Rose for the under layer of blush. I have been watching so many really good watercolor videos on YouTube lately. I found this channel by a husband and wife team, and I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'm going to link it in the paint box after the stream. And they're both really good, and I've learned some things just watching. Oh, thank you. Thank you, an ink guy. That's one of my favorite cop-outs is using like the branch to make a frame. It makes it look good. That may end up being too hot. So as we add layers on top of it, we may switch over to the alizarin crimson instead. I mean, they're both Quin colors. One is PV19 and they're both PV19. Interesting. I wonder if there's a difference in chemical treatment or if there's a difference in, I don't know. So we don't have a purple, not a problem. I'm going to take a little bit of that ultramarine blue and mix that in with our Quin magenta. And that's another reason why I really love this set, is it makes the Quin magenta and their ultramarine make a really nice, fairly clean purple mix, which I'm going to use as just to start creating shadows on her skin. Because like we talked about a couple weeks ago in the skin tone mixing stream, it's easier for me to go ahead and kind of underpaint those colors and then apply the local color on top of it than it is to try and layer these colors in a very thin layer on top. And I'm so sorry to hear your kitties are freaking out about the fireworks, Tanner. Does Bowie seem to care, Joseph?
No, he's asleep.
Good. They're also not, they're probably not as close here as they are where Allie and Tanner are at. But I mean, you know, Bowie is also no stranger to loud noises. When he was a kitten, the Saints won the Super Bowl, remember that? And one of our neighbors thought it was a real good idea to set off a firearm in the house. Not our house, but like in their own apartment. So I was hanging out and we were eating dinner. I think another friend was over too. And we heard a loud gunshot. Because the Saints won. Alright, so, you know, I actually don't really understand the mindset. Yeah, that's like the only way they know how to celebrate. Oof. Yeah, I know where you're talking about. Water, your girl needs water.
You mean potable water?
Potable water, yeah, that's a good distinction since we're watercoloring tonight. it doesn't seem like anybody here is in this immediate area is popping any of the really big ones. You know, the ones that are technically illegal for individuals to own or purchase, but all the fireworks stands sell them. You gotta hydrate. That agua.
Hydration bot.
Thank you. Yeah, good looking hydration bot. That's right.
Check the phone too.
Everybody, why?
Seems like it's about time.
About time for what?
I thought it only had 10 minutes.
It does, but I'd paused it. I'd forgotten to plug it in though, and now it's like, I want to die. And I'm like, no, please don't. No. Funicular divicular. Why? 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 Oh, why? Oh, why? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm in a super goofy mood tonight. Hydrate or dihydrate, yo. Hydrate or give yourself kidney stones. I know, your battery is so low. Can you forgive me? You're at 4%. It's at 4%, y'all. Your girl is not smart. I had it plugged in.
Plug it into the battery.
I am, because I get more juice
Yeah.
from the battery backup.
Gotta hurry too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not recording at this particular second, so yeah. So maybe I can catch up, probably not. Get that exclusive Nada Soup Studio behind the scenes. Becca doesn't know how to charge her phone. It was at 100% before the stream started, and literally just like the time we've been hanging out has zapped my phone.
40 minutes of recording is a lot.
Especially because it's on like bright as the sun. Ah, forgive me, y'all. I gotta unhinge the jaw, the 5 and below jaw. It's actually one of my favorite like secondary phone, and I've had a few. It's one of my favorite secondary phone things. Joseph, were you the one who was talking about using the goose clamp as like an over the shoulder shot? Or did I see somebody do that?
I told you we have a GoPro over the shoulder mount.
I do want to play. Well, let's be real here. You're borrowing it. I don't want to give the impression that I have like a million cameras, because we don't. But I'd like to play with that. Okay, now that everything seems to be not on fire, I'm gonna add another layer of shadow to the tops of her eyes, and I need to decide what I'm gonna do with her dress. What color do you guys think it's gonna be? She's gonna have a darker skin, darker than this for sure. That's just like Leia numero uno. What color do you think her dress should be?
Asking me?
Asking anyone who wants to answer. I'll start on the Apple Blossoms. I'm a bad person because I want to start singing the Apple Bottom Jeans song, which y'all shouldn't know that song, right? Y'all don't know that song. Look at all the kitty emojis. All right, so I am grabbing some Quinn Rose, and I actually don't want a lot. I'm going to dual wield brushes because I am very, very cool. Because we got to have the brush that adds additional color, and then the brush that adds yellow, and it's going to get very technical, and it's going to be like sha-sha-sha. I am leaning pinkish. I'm going to do the flowers and then see how I feel about that.
You might ask what color Apple Blossoms are.
They are a very light pink. Sometimes they're white. They're really cute. And I want to encourage a lot of wet into wet blending. There might be pale yellow. I mean, like in the reference I'm looking at, there's an example that's kind of a pale yellow.
Oh, let's be real, those ponies were randomly named, right?
Not really.
I thought we watched
That, I mean, yes, that was like the first generation. But by the time you got to like the Lauren Faust My Little Pony had been around for like 20 years, and they were hiring kids. They were adults at the time, but they were hiring people who'd grown up with My Little Pony and loved it at this point. So I lied to y'all, I'm tri-wielding. This yellow took over, but that's okay. Gotta keep them in order too. These are gonna be very pink. Let me see if I can get a zoomity zoom. And then the buds look like they're mostly a darker pink. Pale green dress might be the way to go. So when I'm in doubt with a watercolor illustration, I'll color the parts that I know what color they're going to be, and then I kind of allow that to help me decide what everything else will be. That, or I go, Joko! What color should I, come here, what color should I make the hair? And then he's like, you should just use Cooler or Adobe. And I'll be like, I don't wanna. I'm gonna do it the hard way because my color taste is terrible. Does that sound like a fair depiction? So, they are really pretty. They're very cute. Gonna have to start at some point. Ooh, it said OBS died. And reconnected. That's gonna be exciting.
I'm seeing some skipping, but you're
still there?
As far as I can tell.
Okay.
It could be behind.
Well, let me know if and when it cuts me out. This is why I dual record, because I love torturing myself. Are you telling everyone that I didn't drop off the face of the earth?
Yep.
Didn't we update it? I mean, it wanted to update and we finally let it recently. So maybe that's what the update did, is it allowed it to
Fail gracefully.
Yeah, fail grace. You know, that's a skill set so many of us, me, need to learn how to do.
I'm going to ask how dark the blue background is going to be.
It kind of depends. I may leave it like this because, and I may just go in a little bit more with the pinks. I have a tendency when it comes to ultramarine of going too dark, and then it kind of messes up the color gamut. So, as I was saying before, it so unceremoniously decided I was talking too much. It's been an hour into the stream, So I'm going to begin weeb talk while I paint and explain things. So I don't know if this came up in the last stream, but we've started watching Chunibyo. It's called Love and Other Delusions, and y'all need to watch that show. It has me like screaming and laughing every episode. It is super funny and very relatable.
I think we talked about it last time.
Well, we've watched more of it too, so I like love it even more now. Pink and yellow is a great color combo, and it's not popular enough in the West. I think we underappreciate it. It's a really fresh color combo. That's true. I think you figured it out before I did, that pink and yellow is a good color combo. A reminder of new life and that there's beautiful things out there. I mentioned Love Circle way earlier. So 3 days ago was the first time I'd ever gone up there. This super rich dude has a compound up there called Mount Richmore. It literally says Mount Richmore like on the gate of his compound. So it's not like just people making fun of him. It's definitely got some Trump Tower vibes. But he doesn't own Love Circle. It's actually like a historic park. It was my first time going, and it's the highest point in Nashville because Nashville's apparently in a valley. And I don't know, like I've been like super kind of stuck in my own head and like just kind of grappling with what's going on in my life right now. And it's not like my life's that hard. I'm not pretending that. But you know how it is. You get kind of like caught up in yourself. But for some reason, being up on Love Circle and like you can see all of Nashville, and not only can you see all of Nashville, but you can see like various mountains in the far distance, and there's just something about that perspective that really yikes. There's just something about that perspective that really kind of makes you realize in like a very positive way that your own life is just like one life in a city of millions of people who are all trying to do their own, like they've all got their own stuff going on. You know, I don't know why this thing does not like sticking anymore. And like they've all got their own problems and they've all got their own stresses, and you know, like hang on, I want to fix this, but I'll keep nattering on. It was just really necessary for me because, like, even though I'm not athletic or a hearty person or, you know, I don't know, not what people would normally think of as being like a really outdoorsy or nature-loving person, I am a really nature-loving person. And, like, during quarantine, we've gone on a lot of walks. We basically walk every day, which is great. Like, that's the exercise. And we went to Cheekwood once, and nobody was wearing their masks. And we've gone to Fannie Mae Park, which is like a little playground with a dog park, you know, like nothing too exciting. But I don't know, there was just something about like being on top of this hill and you can see into the far distance and just like, I don't know, as a girl from Louisiana, like we don't have that, you know. In mountains, that's what I loved about Nashville, was how beautiful the mountains are. And
Except in office buildings.
Except, what do you mean?
You can see them in far distance from office buildings in Louisiana.
Yeah, that's a good point. But like, I wasn't, well, okay, that's not fair. When my dad worked on Poydras Street, and I worked as like a little gopher person, we had it, his office had a view of the Superdome. It was like literally on top of his office, basically. But yeah, you did have a beautiful view, but there's something way nicer about having this beautiful view of nature and mountains. I don't know, like we've gone to Hot Springs, North Carolina several times, and I always love the drive up because you're driving through the mountains and it's just really beautiful. I don't know. All I'm trying to say is that it fed my soul. I needed it and it fed my soul, and now the grass is mad at me.
Like they're gonna get that.
No, I know. But I had to make fun of myself a little bit. Oh. I don't know. Hema, maybe baby you knew. You instinctually knew in your soul. It was like the same feeling I used to get running through the clover at my grandparents' house. They had this pecan orchard, and in the spring, red clover would take over, and it was, I thought as a little kid, it was beautiful. I don't know if it's objectively beautiful, but it was beautiful to me. And it just kind of gave me that feeling. I'll let you sleep for a little while, phone. They don't have to see me paint all the flowers. Just was always part of you. Always there. So I'm just tri-wielding using a brush that has a light wash of the Quin Magenta, a brush that has a really saturated mix of the Quin Magenta, and then a little bit of yellow. And this technique allows you to work with multiple colors really quickly. So it works really well for wet into wet techniques. And I feel like it's one that's actually very popular in like Chinese brush painting, but it isn't one that Western watercolor artists use or talk about a whole lot. But I think it's a great technique, and it allows me to get in and do wet into wet with these smaller things. And I think one of the things I really like about watercolor is kind of the repetitive nature of it. It can become kind of meditative once you know what you're doing and you've got it figured out, and it's just a matter of actually doing it. You can kind of zone out and think about other things. And once I get these flowers painted, I'll get started on her skin tone, since painting people is literally in the title. Yeah, that pink and yellow color combo is so nice. And I really want to kind of keep some of that freshness. So I think for the leaves surrounding her, what I'm going to do is, instead of using the sap green that comes with the set, I'm going to mix what is it, phthalo blue with one of the yellows. And that's going to give us kind of like I always call it like an egg green, and I know that's not really what it is, but it kind of reminds me of like overly hard-boiled eggs on the inside, how the yolks get. And I'm not selling this color in any way that. Ooh, I could go for a hot dog. We had gyoza tonight. Joseph warmed them up so I could get started on the stream. Yeah, I didn't want people thinking you like lovingly made. You did lovingly make, but you like handmade gyoza for us. But hot dogs are very 4th of July. Hey, Joseph, what's your favorite? And it can be something that like isn't U.S. known. What is your favorite 4th of July food that you associate with the 4th of July?
I don't have one.
There isn't one that like you're like, oh yeah, that's the 4th of July.
No, I don't do seasonal stuff really. I mean, seasonal fruits and vegetables, sure, but not like seasonally prepared foods.
It doesn't have to be a seasonal thing, just something you associate with like going to see the fireworks or setting off fireworks at home. Oh, nothing? There wasn't something like your parents made?
No.
I think
sure my dad cooked steaks.
Yeah, probably. He's a barbecuer. Not even snowballs are my answer. Cupcakes. Yeah, if somebody has like a backyard barbecue or a party, there's always like several trays of homemade cupcakes. I wouldn't have thought of that myself until you said it, and then it's like, yeah. I have never, are you talking like Ruffles, Lay's? Because I could see Ruffles doing really well in hot dogs. There's just something about like the textural element. It's not a hot take. That's like a hot tip. pasta salad. Okay, I can get that. It's like it's a good picnic food. Like a particular flavor or like salt, Lay's, potato chips. Sorry. I Joseph has to remind me, like, give them more context when I'm responding to the chat because there's a lag and I forget. I forget I'm not on Discord. Egg pasta salad. Like a hefty pasta salad that has like a little bit of everything in it. It's got like salami and pepperoni and it's got olive mix. I could see plain being the best, especially if you put other condiments on, or if you're a chili dog person. I could definitely see Ruffles giving it like much needed texture because the chili tends to make everything super soggy. Oh my gosh, especially with like red onion in the pasta salad. I love red onion in pasta salads. Okay, so I have to use the ladies' room. I'm gonna let this dry and then we're gonna get started on that skin tone. Also gonna let my phone catch a little charge. Just a little as bit. Hey Bo, you having a good evening? You a good boy? Yeah. Oh, I just love how red onions get, like, when they're slightly pickled, they get kind of sweet. Oh, they're so good like that. The crunch is also A+, would recommend, delicious. He's my boy. My boy. All right. Layer number 1 of the skin tone. And we are going to have zombification in the initial layers, but fear not. We know how to fix that. So this is burnt sienna with what? Burnt umber and a little bit of alizarin, alizarin crimson. A lizard crimson. Somebody's got to make that their D&D character. It needs to be like a frilled basilisk, and it needs to be named Crimson. Or Ring Crimson. Hark! It's a lizard. Ring Crimson. That was awful. I feel. I was like, yeah, that was awful. I felt people unfriend me. And the skin tone needs to be mixed dark. But it's a good start. I like building up my skin tones, because then you have room for like really nice highlights, especially with darker skin tones where like using titanium white to put highlights on is not going to look good. Okay, so we have a swatch. Let's mix it with a little bit more burnt sienna, but loads more burnt umber. And then, because we're going to have trouble getting that darker, I'm going to actually grab some of our ultramarine blue, and that's going to desaturate a little bit, but it's also going to help us darken the color a little bit. And then we're going to use alizarin just to help warm that up. Now, of course, you got to swatch it. Crimson like my soul. Oh my gosh, she need me out. I loves it, y'all. Those apple blossoms are looking really nice. So I am going to replace my cup of water, which now looks like a cup of chocolate cherry Kool-Aid, and I'm going to get started with the leaves. Tell them to back off. It's your name. Old AIM noise of someone logging off, the door shutting. Yeah, it was just like it. Yeah. God, making me nostalgic. They better check themselves before they wreck themselves. And I'm still thinking about the dress color as well. Although I am definitely, we're going to see. We're going to see after we paint the leaves whether or not the dress is going to be pink or green. So what I'm going to do with the leaves is I'm going to start. And Allie was so generous and refilled my yellow for me because it's one of my most used colors. So I'm going to allow the colors to blend optically rather than mixing them together in my palette, and that tends to result in really nice fresh blends. And we could do wet into wet blending like we did with the apple blossoms themselves, using a little bit of our phthalo blue over way at the other end of the palette. Could be, the yellow dress could be a good one. We've got green. See, if I went with like a really light green, or like a really light yellow green, that would kind of hit both of those. The Karen Dosh fan color ones? Or the studio, I mean, the studio gouache and the fan color are actually the same thing. They're just branded differently for different markets. If she was wearing a light yellow green, that would also contrast nicely with the flowers she's holding. The magic of wet into wet, especially when you can really see it. I wish you lived nearby, B, because I'd let you borrow them. I don't like gouache, so I'm not really like the one who can tell you whether or not they're any good. They were able to deliver on opacity, which is what I was testing for, and they were not difficult to reactivate, and I think they're probably more of a tempera than like a true gouache. Oh, the acrylic gouache. How's that? I wonder how that sets up in pans. Because acrylic, once it's dry forever. Or I guess rather, water isn't going to reactivate it. And all I'm doing with the leaves is I'm dual wielding brushes and I'm dipping in some phthalo blue, which is a cool blue, into the still wet yellow and letting it disperse. Purple could look neat. Although I'm honestly loving all the like light and very springy colors. I feel like, do any of you guys kind of feel like you just lost spring this year? I mean, I went outside. I did see some spring flowers, but I feel like I just missed spring this year. Switch over here. Because I'm right-handed and need to work from, generally I need to work from left to right to avoid smearing and getting ink or paint or marker all over the place depending on what I'm using. Oh, that sounds neat, Indy. Very mixed media. What's everybody been working on lately? Oh man, I'm sorry, Hema. That really sucks. And Tanner is always able to make a pun that kind of lightens the mood a little bit. Corn spring, yeah. Spring in time. That sounds too happy though. It's like out of Mary Poppins. That's cool, an ink guide. Pencil drawings, you can do that just about anywhere, with just about even the cheapest materials, so it really kind of frees you up to work wherever you feel like working, or whenever you have time or inspiration strikes. Are you still developing the eyeball aliens, Indy, or do you have like a story for them? The impressionistic landscapes sound cool too, though. Oh, I found an area of blue I missed. It's one of the nice things about blocking in color. It shows you areas you need to go back and fix. Tanner, I feel you. Mine likes to show up at like midnight as I'm going to sleep. And she's always like, you know you're ADHD and you know you'll forget the idea if you don't get up right now and write it down. So I get you on being afraid of the muse. That muse wouldn't be named Allie, would it, Tanner? Talking you into bad ideas. You should put together a portfolio of that, Hema, your Pokemon fan work, because maybe the next time Nintendo of America is hiring, they might have a place for you. I mean, at the very least, it shows that you can take a concept and world build and develop for it, which is what like freelance employers are usually looking for, is can you take our existing excuse me thank you, can you take our existing XYZ and like develop it more? When the muse shows up, the cats all hide under the sofa. Thank you. I like how the phthalo blue and optical mix, well, no, it's actually kind of a true mix because it's mixing on the paper. But I like the green that we're getting from it. It's very mottled. And what I was kind of thinking, something I like doing it with my own art, and I love when other people do it, is it's like controlled chaos, where you take something that's kind of loose and then you just add enough details to it to kind of tighten it up and make it look like the thing you want. And my work tends to be so over, I feel like it's so over rendered. Could also be because I spent the past week painting Kara eating cute foods. And they look great, but dang, they took forever. I don't know what would make a sand shifting around sound that would involve fireworks other than like maybe actual sand. And Prussian blue is a really beautiful color. That's a good question. What is it? For those of you guys who paint or are familiar with paints, what is your favorite color? I'm gonna have to think about that one because there's a lot of ones I really love. Joseph, do you have a favorite? You hang out.
I have. I can't remember what it is though.
Can you describe it? Maybe I can tell you.
No, that's what I'm saying. I can't remember what the color is. I just remember, certainly when we're shopping.
You see it and you're like, that's a good color.
Yeah.
Do I own it?
I'm sure you do.
Is it?
I don't want to play that game.
Okay. Can you guess what mine is? That's a good answer because I'm trying to think of. No, okay. There are so many colors that I just love, like, and colors that like one brand just does a really good job with how that color is formulated, and I really, really love that color, but only if it's from that brand. Kind of like we were talking about with Da Vinci's Ultramarine, or like how this Quinn magenta looks right now is just super pretty. Payne's Gray is it's a convenience color. So it's ultramarine with, I want to say burnt umber, but it might be burnt sienna. And even though it's a convenience color and I could easily mix it, I always buy Payne's Gray because, yeah, it's a really beautiful color. It's a really nice gray, and it's just got like a lot of use to it. It can be used as a shadow color. It makes for super easy metallics. It's just kind of a pretty color on its own, so it could be used in like clothing. That is a really strong contender. I mean, in the past, I have said Holbein's neutral tint is one of my favorite colors, and I'll kind of stand by that because I love bright and brilliant colors, but I also really like more subdued and muted colors. And Holbein's neutral tint, sorry, is more like a purpley Payne's Gray, and you can sometimes get really nice color shift and color sedimentation with it. And I also really like indigo. If I'm painting foliage, I really like Winsor Newton indigo because it's kind of a very cool influenced indigo, so it works really well for foliage. But it's not a good color for jeans, so I'll mix it with Payne's Gray to get kind of like that traditional denim blue. So everything the light doesn't touch is your muse's territory. Almost kind of sounds like the fireworks are in the front yard. Now I have be prepared stuck in my head. Thanks, y'all. Prussian blue, Indy mentioned Prussian blue earlier, is also a really nice, I'm a phthalo blue gal myself, so I don't own a lot of Prussian blue, but it's a really nice color. And the history behind Prussian blue is really interesting because originally Germany was developed, there was this contest to find a synthetic ultramarine blue that isn't reliant on that one lapis lazuli mine in like Saudi Arabia that no one can access, and that's why real genuine ultramarine has always been expensive and will continue to be super expensive. So they were trying to find a good synthetic, and there just wasn't anything like the real deal. And Prussian blue was the first attempt. It was Germany's attempt. And then France and another country. Do you remember what the other country was? I want to say England, but Britain, but I don't know. They both came up with like a good fake ultramarine at the same time, and that's why many companies label it French ultramarine. Oh my goodness. Any story ideas for eyeball aliens? Unfortunately, we're watching this show called Parasite right now, and to me that's what an eyeball alien kind of looks like in my head, so I think it's prejudicing.
I think it's Beholders from D&D.
Balders?
I guess so.
I don't know.
It was pronounced Beholders.
No, I don't know. Oh, Beholders. Sorry. Wow. Take away my nerd card. That's a good take. If it were me writing a story about eyeball aliens, I would try to go with the non-obvious. So like, okay, it's a giant, theoretically, it's a giant eyeball, okay? So everyone is going to assume that it observes things, or it has really good eyesight, or whatever. But I would make it maybe psychic instead, just so that it's not.
I think Hyperion has psychic eyeball aliens.
I didn't even remember that, so.
You never got there.
Oh, dang it.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, wow, yeah, on this book that I started reading 10 years ago. Whoops. Walk out having done both. They ate the doctor and got the glasses. Stretch break. Still at 4%, but hey. Okay, yeah. A planet that is just one big eyeball, that is definitely a fresh take on the eyeball aliens. Ooh, I'm so afraid if I move too far back, my back is gonna, like, my vertebrae are gonna fuse. They live on planet Eyeball. Gosh, Joseph, gosh. Oh my gosh, you're starting to trigger my tryptophobia. The idea of like an eyeball crawl. Ugh. Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Nope, 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 nope. Nope. No, thank you. That's gross. Okay, so I'm going to go back in with our yellow and just kind of reinforce it in some areas on the apple blossoms. And I do want to go back in and add just a few more details here and there to the apple blossoms themselves, but I will save that until a little bit later on in the piece. And how many folks are hanging out with us tonight, Joko?
Currently 8.
8.
I think it's been up to about 14, but
Whoa.
it didn't stay that long. So.
That is understandable because, to be real, watching watercolor paint dry in real time is boring.
We're talking about aliens, isn't it?
No, talking about aliens is not boring. I'm also going to go ahead and do the second layer on her skin. And every time, this is not to put down any of the people who request watercolor, like real-time watercolor streams. And I hope they're hanging out tonight. In fact, if you are hanging out tonight, give me a shout out. But it's one of those things that people request a lot, and then I know how long it's going to take because I do a lot of watercolor. But I think they don't realize, like, the next 4 hours of your life is this. Which is, when I do watercolor, if I'm doing like a full illustration, and I'm doing it live, I'm going to do something I really enjoy because I'm going to be spending a lot of time with that piece. But that's why most of these end up being time-lapse, because I just really can't justify making people hang out for 4 hours. I say making like I'm forcing y'all to do anything. Oh, I like that idea, Ink Guy. When they find love, they become two eyes and get full depth perception. Can maybe see the world more clearly. That would definitely be an unusual take, and I like it. Okay. I mean, y'all can talk about clusters of eyes if you want to talk about it, but I don't want to. I will just like ignore the chat for a little bit. No, I'm not like reading it. Eyes don't bother me that much. It's like clusters of things freak me out, and not even like, it varies from just being like ugh to being like very squicked out, but not, it wouldn't trigger like a I don't think. I've never had a panic attack over it, so I'm not super concerned. Sorry, my phone is like, I don't have any space now. I'm like, you're just full of problems tonight, aren't you? Oh, no, this one isn't Naomi. She is a random pretty Lilliputian I made up for Lilliputian living. But thank you. It's taken a lot of years of practice to finally be able to paint Naomi the way I see her in my head. Girl, what are you doing? You are trying to clear up space so you can go back to recording the tutorial. There we go. Sorry about that. It did give her skin a chance to dry though. Thank you. So now I'm going to try and get a little bit of detail, not a lot, because I really don't want to like over render the apple blossoms because they're kind of lively and fresh. So I don't want to do too much to them. So if you're using a 12 color mixing set to paint people with darker skin tones, this may be where you want to start adding in some convenience colors to make it a little bit easier. So this set has, it doesn't have a purple, it has burnt sienna and burnt umber, which are great for darker skin tones, but like for example, when I paint really dark hair, I will usually go like a sepia and black route in order to be able to get like enough contrast in, and we don't have either of those in this 12 color set, so that requires some color mixing but also some compromise. And my phone is ringing and I do not know why. Okay, so Joseph is just gonna sit here and chat with you guys for a minute and I'll be right back. I don't expect you to paint. The lavalier's right here. Sorry, my younger brother called me. Oh, my phone's at 4%. This is gonna kill my phone, and it's probably not.
Plug it in somewhere.
Yeah, I'll be right back. I really promise. It's probably just gonna be me being like, dude, I'm not gonna.
Yeah. So we've mostly, this is Joseph, by the way. Becca should be back, hopefully, in like a minute or two. Oh, you guys can see me too, I forgot. We've mostly been working on Kickstarter stuff lately. Yeah, Bowie's back awake. He's probably going to be begging for wet food soon, because it is around the time that we usually give him wet food. Hey, Hema. Looks like she's sharing her desk mostly. No, this is not a stream that I'm taking over. Hey, Andy. Yeah, so we're planning on releasing the Kickstarter for Volume 2 next week. I believe on Saturday. I'm not sure what time. Right now, we have been working on the Kickstarter video and also putting the content into the actual Kickstarter page. We wanted to do both of those things a while back, but we've just been working on other things, basically. So I'm not going to Twitch stream, but we were talking about doing a stream of Tiny People games, possibly. Let me see if I can... Oh, I probably shouldn't bring that up because it's got random things on it. I have been making a list of Tiny People games. And Becca is back.
You can keep talking. My phone is at 1% and I need it to also record. It's not an emergency.
Okay. Well, I'll just hand it over to you. I've been making a list of Tiny People games. I doubt we're actually going to do that. The intention was to bring in people who don't necessarily know about 7-inch Kara, but like tiny things. But given everything else that's going on, we're just running kind of behind on Kickstarter stuff. I doubt that's going to happen.
I was kind of hoping, and I mean, this is major spoilers for y'all, but I was kind of hoping we could do the Tiny People game stream in the last week. Oh, Tanner, I love Chibi Robo. It's one of my favorite games. It's so cute. Oh, I've already got him packed up. I have a Chibi Robo amiibo because that's like the closest I can get to a Chibi Robo figurine. So I was kind of hoping we could do the tiny cast, the tiny stream, the last week of the Kickstarter as like the final push. So I haven't given up on it. We might not do it the way Joseph wanted to do it because he wanted to play the games and then he wanted me to draw cute borders around the frames while he plays the games, which is a really cute idea, but I draw so slow. I think I draw so slow. I could maybe like do Katamari style doodles where I'm focusing more on like solid fills, and I could see that working. But I draw so slow that anything more detailed than that would just be like, meh. We need another Chibi Robo game. No joke. Would you play the American Mecha game?
No, what American?
You know the American Mecha game.
That's not a Tiny People game.
No, this is like I'm reading up in the chat. It's unrelated to. I think you should. I don't know if you'd be good at it, but I think you should.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I want to play it on stream. I'm not a big streamer person.
You know, but the difference is no one here expects you to be good or expects you to know how to play the game. It's about hanging out with someone while they're playing a game. And I feel like even like if it's this group of folks, I feel like I could play. I'm not saying I want to stream all the time, but I am terrible at video games. I don't know if I've told you guys, I'm really bad at video games. And I would play games with y'all because like it's not going to be about like, oh, Becca, you really, really, really suck at Mario 3. I didn't know anybody could be as bad at Mario 3 as you are. I'm really bad at Mario. So it wouldn't be like that. It would just be like hanging out and chatting and playing video games, which is a different vibe because we're not trying to impress people with like how much we know or how good we are. It's just hanging out. I'm also like, I'm sorry guys, I'm stalling for time too a little bit because my phone is at 1% and I want to be able to actually do, but you know, I can go back. I can keep working on the roses because I'd already kind of started that. No, my younger brother doesn't normally call at this time of night, so I wanted to take it because I thought it might be an emergency, and it's not an emergency, but it is something. I'm like debating whether I should talk about, I think I can talk about it in broad strokes. So Joseph and I are getting married on the 27th of July in Louisiana, and it's a really, really, really small wedding because of COVID. We don't want to expose people, and what we want to do is we want to have like a big, and I say this in heavy air quotes, when COVID is over, you know, when we have a vaccine or who knows what, but when we have something, and it's safe for people to travel, hopefully, and see people again, we want to have like a big reception and invite all the friends we couldn't invite to come and hang out in New Orleans and go do fun things, you know? So like us getting married right now, I mean, we've been together for a really long time. So like that, along with like the Volume 2 Kickstarter, it's just one of those things that if you keep putting it off, it's not going to happen. So we wanted to go ahead and get married and not, because we talked about putting it off until like initially, like when COVID first became an issue in the US, it was like March, and I kind of thought we were going to postpone the wedding like by a lot. And so there's been a lot of like back and forth regarding that. And honestly, like Louisiana could decide tomorrow that they're going to restrict gatherings again. So, you know, we just had to play it by ear. But anyway, very small wedding, mostly family is going to be there. I invited I sent my grandmother an invitation, and I 100% understand she can't make it. She's 90. Her older sister has dementia, so she may go see her older sister instead. And then COVID, like she probably shouldn't be traveling. And she also lives in Texas, which is like a 5-hour drive. So, you know, I really understand. It would be no hard feelings if those were her reasons and she couldn't make it. But I haven't heard anything at all from her, and you know what I mean, like I wasn't able to invite I have a small immediate family, and I don't talk to anybody on my dad's side of the family, and my mom's side of the family is really big, so I couldn't invite hardly anybody. So, you know, I would like to hear from her. Anyway, my brother called me to be like, yeah, Nana's on the phone. Do you want Mom to ask her? So I was like, yeah, sure. But I also had to point out, like, hey, I'm streaming because, you know, unless it's like an emergency, I try not to cancel on you guys. Because I understand, like, this is going to sound super full of myself, so please take it with a grain of salt. I understand how disappointed I feel when someone I like hanging out with has to cancel on me. So especially right now when people can't get out as much, I try not to cancel on you guys. Especially because I really value that you guys are choosing to hang out with me. Even if I don't care if you're watching TV in the background or watching or you're in like 5 streams at one time. Or and I hope you're drawing or painting or writing while we're hanging out, because like it's really cool to think that these streams might be inspiring to you and might help you make art when you're struggling to make art. So, you know, I don't want to like cancel on y'all because we have like a standing Saturday night hangout date. Especially right now when people can't necessarily, I mean, I say this and I'm listening to the fireworks outside the window, but you know what I mean? Like a lot of people cannot safely go and hang out. So like this is important to me and I don't want to bail on y'all. And it's important to me too. Like that sounds awful. Like I'm not saying that isn't, but my mom's in Louisiana and they're talking to my grandmother on the phone. I'm not there to be part of that conversation. And I mean, I would be down with a 3-way chat, but I know my mom doesn't like doing 3-way because it gets really expensive. So no one even offered. It wasn't like, do you want Mom to call you too? So oh, y'all are reading through the list. I didn't want it to come across like I'm like I think I'm like the #1 priority or anything like that. But I really appreciate when y'all hang out with me on Saturday nights, and I look forward to hanging out with you guys. I think that keeping it light and just a few details on the flowers is really the best way to go with this one. I never liked the Backstreet Boys growing up, but yeah, I saw that they were doing a reunion tour, like a virtual one, and I felt like a weird twinge of like, maybe I'll watch it, and then I was like, no, no, I won't. I had a friend in high school who thought she was like legit dating Nick from the Backstreet Boys, so I've gotten my, honestly, real talk, it was probably like somebody taking advantage of this person's trusting nature on the internet, and it was predatory behavior. So I'm not like laughing and I'm not condoning it, but I am saying I had my fill of hearing about the Backstreet Boys in high school, and I wonder how many people have used that as like a terrible bait. Because, like, there was no way she was actually talking to Nick. I think she thought she was talking to Nick, but there was, like, no way she was actually talking to Nick. Carter, right? Like, that's his last name? I couldn't even remember for a second because I had just heard his first name, like, a million times.
One of the Backstreet Boys was named Nick. So.
There you go. Well, she's dating AJ first, and then she was dating Nick. You know,
some
Backstreet gossip.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at the time, I thought it was ridiculous that she thought that, but now that I'm an adult and I have other friends who have like told me similar stories of people lying to them like that, I think it's just weird that you know what I mean? Like, I was on the internet. How did I not get, I was super into anime. How did that not, I'm grateful that it didn't. Oh, wait, because my mom never let me be on the internet by myself. That's why it didn't happen. She was a real saint for watching me play Ragnarok online for like 6 hours at a stretch and not going. Oh, and LiveJournal. Oh my God, y'all. Oh, my mom really was a saint because I would get on LiveJournal and like vent about her, and she was sitting like right there. Oh, why was I awful?
Tally said something very nice.
Aw, thank you, Tally. Yeah, Aaron Carter, right? I don't know why I know these people's names. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a fan of them if you're a fan of them. I'm not, so I'm like, why do I know all this stuff? Because I sure as heck do not know the things I need to know. My brain turns to like garbage when I need it to do other things. But dang it, I can name some Backstreet Boys. Hey, can you check my phone and see how much? It's not even like I want to know this stuff. 18? It'll hold a charge.
So you need it?
Yeah. You get to like a tipping point where it can maintain itself. Now I have the stupid Backstreets back. All right. Dun dun. Gonna get content matched. Dun dun. I guess they are welcome to take any ad revenue on this video because they might need that money more than I do. This time I'll be smart and I'll actually plug it in. Like, trivia, especially if it helps you remember. Okay, this is really dumb. So we're watching an LPer we like who is playing Persona 5 Royale. And well, thank you, Indie Kitty, but there, I think it probably hit like the cultural zeitgeist where we heard it enough that we just picked it up. But on trivia, so gosh, words. Persona 5, Johnny Awesome is playing it, and he mentions this fact that, so it's commonly taught in U.S. schools. I don't know if everybody knows this. I don't want to say it's like common knowledge, but I feel like it's commonly taught in U.S. schools that the months are named after different Roman emperors, or at least the Western calendar gets a lot of the months.
Kitty super chatted.
I know, I saw that. Thank you so much.
Generally, people read.
Oh, am I supposed to read it? I'm sorry. I wasn't sure. You were awful because you were a teenager. Very true. Very true. I am 50 and I can name some of them too. Pokemon or Backstreet Boys?
I'm thinking Backstreet Boys.
I'm thinking Backstreet Boys also. But it could really, I mean, there was like a point in the early 2000s, late 90s where both of them were all over TV a ridiculous amount. Oh, on this note, so I am applying a layer of phthalo blue, which is like a cool influence blue, on top of our leaves to add a little bit more definition and some shading. Gods, but also emperors. So like Augustus and Julius are named after, I mean, June is named after Juno, but who is a god, but like the summer months were apparently named after Roman emperors. Sorry, brain is like shutting down for the night. And I learned from Persona 5 Royale that the reason those 2 months both have 31 days is because Augustus couldn't stand the idea of Julius having a month with more days than he had. And I'm also blending this out with a little bit of our Da Vinci yellow semi-transparent, and it's giving us kind of this like eggy color, and I'm blending that out wet into wet. So that's why August has 31 days, same as June or July, rather than it alternating like most months do, which probably meant February got cheated. And like, that's kind of useful trivia because it helps me remember that those are the 2 months that are back to back that have more days, right? So wait, was Allie a big Backstreet Boys fan? Am I gonna get a strict talking to because I admitted I wasn't into NSYNC either, if that makes it okay. I was into this brother duo. They were twins, and they went by their given names, Evan and Jaron, and literally no one else cared at all.
Is that the one that does Crazy Break?
Yes, it is. That was like the first song that was the only song that got any radio play. That was the first song that I heard it other than like Moody Blues Wildest Dreams, and I was like, this song gives me the feels. We went to see them in concert at Jazzland, which was an amusement park.
Moody Blues, not Evan and Jaron.
Yeah, no. Evan and Jaron, not Moody Blues. We went to see them, not you and me. And my friend in high school went to see them at this amusement park, literally in the middle of a hurricane. They had closed the park, but were still going to hold the concert because they'd already paid them to perform, and they were too cheap to like just let them take the money for a performance of like maybe 25 teenage girls.
That must have been great though, because you could probably get right up on the stage.
I was real close to the stage, yes, and I was way too underage, and they didn't even notice me, so it worked out.
That's for the best.
It is for the best. That's why I said it worked out. I was hoping they would notice me, and I think my mom was hoping they would not. Very wisely. They were like in their mid-20s.
Not quite a Dr. Roxo situation.
Still not okay. She made me put more clothes on as I left the house. To go back. I like how I was wearing minimal clothes in the middle of a hurricane. To go, man, those years, that logic. Oh my gosh, you had a hit clips. Justin Timberlake's like the only one who's had any staying power.
Amongst all the pop.
All the boy band that I can think of. I think the eldest Jonas brother is also getting into acting, but you know, he'll be an actor to me. Like, I didn't listen to his music growing up, so I won't have any problem seeing him as an actor. I think it's Joe Jonas. I'm sure y'all will let me know if I'm wrong. Why do I know these things other than Twitter?
You should probably bring back up the flower reference. I don't know if you're referencing it.
No, I'm
it's
just
the background of Premiere.
Oh, okay, give me a second. Oh no, Tanner, why? Why? That's like an accursed item. Oh no. No, sir. Oh, I definitely got the best. I don't know. If you'd met me then, would we have been friends? I would have been friends with you, Joseph. Or I would have tried.
I have no idea.
You would have said, I play Final Fantasy, and I would have been like boyfriend material. Oh no, I have no regrets over that.
I played Final Fantasy before it was cool, even.
It was never cool at my school, so I too played Final Fantasy before it was cool. Because it was not cool where I grew up. I thought it was super cool. 9 was the best. I know, you played it way before 9. Was that a long whine from a bow?
Yeah, he's ready for what, babe? How long are you gonna stream?
I want to at least do some more with her skin and her hair.
He knows we're talking about
Because
painting.
this is a painting people stream, and I've mostly just painted flowers, like you do.
Can Bowie wait it out? Is the question here.
He doesn't like playing with the toy downstairs either, is the other part of the problem.
Yeah, there's paint everywhere.
Yes. Sorry, Bocat. Okay, I'll warn you guys. I'm gonna call it at 10:30. Yeah, but as I often do, I will continue recording. So even though the stream will be over, the full tutorial will be up. Waiting to be a grown-up. Yeah. There was definitely a heavy element of like just passing time or killing time until adulthood. Although now that I'm an adult, what are you laughing?
You could just read manga all day like you did.
Yeah. Well, more like now that I'm an adult, other than my mom didn't let me do anything by myself, which as an adult, I'm like, she probably had a good reason not to let me do anything by myself. I didn't have like a happy childhood, but I didn't have the worst teenage years. So I am like, I don't know why I was in such a hurry to be an adult. No, like, yeah, the older I get, the more I realize my mom was actually ahead of her time with that. She definitely knew things that I didn't. Obviously, she knew things that I didn't know. But I also took it too personally. I thought she didn't trust me. And it was, I mean, I really thought she didn't trust me. But it was really she knew I was very impressionable and overly trusting and very naive, so she was just trying to protect me from that. And honestly, by the time I got to college, I had plenty of adult life experiences to make me more street smart. But I was better equipped to actually deal with them. Is that... I feel like I'm hearing thunder in addition to fireworks.
No, it's fireworks.
You would know. You grew up setting them off.
Yep. Setting things on fire. Almost getting hurt.
I do feel like that's kind of miraculous, Hema. You were very fortunate. You had kind of an idyllic online teenage experience, which is really what we should be able to offer kids and teens, and it makes me sad that we can't. Yeah. You also were probably, I mean, doing a lot of like Pokemon RP, so for the most part it was a lot of like, look at my Pokemon, it's a good Pokemon, I love my Pokemon. Very safe and tame, unless there's like a seedy underbelly to Pokemon that I don't know about.
Pokemon fighting.
Well, yeah, I mean that's definitely an ever-present Poke reality. And Tanner says, Allie says it's storming over there. It does kind of sound like thunder to me, so it'll be interesting to see if they try to like keep on popping. Yeah, I can see that it can, from what you've told me, I believe you that it can get pretty toxic. Which is really a shame, because the show in general is very much about like friendship. Tanner. All the things the trainers don't want you to know. The Pokemon Inquirer.
Pokemon steroids.
They don't get a choice. That's the problem, though. They're not... I feel like they wouldn't get a choice in that. Maybe some of the more intelligent ones. It makes a huge difference when the internet, or when you started spending a lot of time on the internet.
That's what our generation is named after.
I know. Well, Indy brought it up, and I think it's a really good point. And like, sincerely, we don't have kids yet, but we do plan on having or adopting kids. And that's a discussion we've had many times, is like, how do we want to handle their internet usage? How do we want to handle how often they're allowed online, what they're allowed to do when they're online. We've even talked about like, are you going to have our kids on, if we're still doing YouTube, are you going to have our kids on the stream? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we hit a point where it was like, if it's like Lucky Penny Shop, where as long as they enjoy doing it and there's something they like out of it, and we never show their faces, only their hands, they can do it. But if they don't want to do it, then...
I think that's fine for like a 7 or 8 year old.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want a younger child necessarily.
Yeah. Because I don't have any intent... I would love to review more Crayola stuff, but I don't have any intention of dragging my kid into it unwillingly. Okay, so I want to get a darker value for her skin tone. So I mixed a lot of the burnt umber with some of the original skin tone mix. Then I added in some of the ultramarine blue because I'm trying to get it darker, as well as some alizarin crimson. So this is what we have right now. Of course, with watercolor, it always goes down darker than it dries. Maple Story. I thought you, okay, my brain read it as Maple Sugar Daddies at first, like Maple Story Sugar Daddies, and I was like, yes, that pun. That's so weird. I'm glad you didn't go through with that. I feel like that would have been a really regrettable situation. Yeah, by the time I was in upper high school, I had friends who would talk about that kind of stuff, but I always thought they were just like talking big. So I didn't really take it seriously. Like, I know it happens, and I wasn't naive enough then to think other people weren't doing it. I just thought those particular friends weren't actually doing it. Like soliciting for sugar daddies online and stuff. Like, when you're underage, that's just such a bad idea. So I need to very gently kind of blend this so it's not like a harsh transition, and blend that. There we go. You want to do it kind of carefully because sometimes it'll make the prior layer lift up, or that's the big one, is it'll make the prior layer lift up sometimes. Darker skin tones don't always like glazing so much because you end up with so much pigment on the paper. Yeah, I mean, 15, she probably had like increasing school responsibilities, and the tests were probably getting harder, and high school drama kind of starts to pop up at 15. So it probably wasn't about you at all. It was probably, oh, get that, good boy! Get that bug, Bo! Sorry. Get it! Get that bug! Get it, Bo! We eat it! Good boy! Eat that bug! He's gonna play with it. I'm gonna wake up, find that bug crawling on my face at night. And I'm still thinking about that dress, but I'm really, really leaning towards like a blue yellow. Not a blue yellow. Well, that would be a green, Becca. A green. But I want to do the border. So what I want to do is I'm going to use burnt umber, and then I'm going to dab in areas of darker burnt umber as well as ultramarine blue. So let me stop that for a sec. I think he just likes moving prey, and I am all for that cat eating bugs. So the weird thing, it's weird to me, and I'm very pro people not disclosing their ages too much online because I feel like that opens younger people up for predation. But you also have a lot of spaces that you have to be 13 to sign up for, but you know the users there are probably much younger than that, like Twitter, okay? So you have these spaces that are supposedly mostly for adults, but they are heavily populated by kids, teenagers, people who are underage. And it just, with these kind of like mixed use spaces where there's a lot of interaction, it gets really tricky. And I'm not even going to talk about some of the darker sides to that, but I'm going to talk about, like, you have people who have way less life experience who are trying to pose as adults, and they want to be taken as seriously as if they were an adult with like lots and lots of life experience. And it makes interacting with them kind of challenging because you don't want to assume they're as young as you think they probably are. They might be an adult, but it just makes it really hard to tell, like, am I talking to someone who's the same age as me with like similar experience? Am I talking to somebody who's really, really young and they still have a lot of life left to experience? And I'm trying to be, I don't want to come across as being ageist, but I think it makes navigating the internet more challenging when you have incentivized people lying about their ages so they can be on the service, and it's a service aimed at adults and may often have very strong language or may have adult topics. Like, this is a somewhat salient example, I guess. So Wizards of the Coast, they recently shut down a couple of expansion packs, I want to say, because they feature provocative male poses. And what a lot of fans are pointing out, and their excuse for that is that, you know, these are family friendly teenage T-rated books, like, that's too much, that's overly sexualized. And what a lot of people's complaint is, like, the women in these books are drawn very racy. And so the point is, like, you're unfairly policing. If you're gonna, it's fine if you want to make that rule. It's your company, you can do what you want, but you have to enforce it across the board. You can't have these kind of costumes are okay on female characters but not okay on male characters. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I think a lot of companies hide, they want to pretend like they really care about, like, protecting kids when they don't really. That's not really their goal. Their goal is to make as much money as possible and not get sued. Yeah. So yeah, it makes navigating the internet, both as someone on Twitter, because I've had people come at me in my DMs and, like, they say some really nasty things. You know, you think you're all that, you think you're such a good artist, etc., 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 like, whatever, okay. And then I come to, and then I find out that they're literally teenagers coming at me with this. And my response in general to that kind of behavior is I don't answer, like, I ignore it. But, like, what if I had responded to them like they were a fellow adult? Because, you know, to use a service, right, they're on this service that is primarily for adult users. I mean, yeah, we all know Twitter is not primarily adult users anymore, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I can't even tell them to back off. I'm not even going to tell them to back off because they're kids, and that might have, like, a really serious detrimental effect to them, on them. Hema mentioned that on Twitter, you have a lot of minors demanding takedown of adult content and catering to them. That is it exactly. And it's like, you are on a service, and I'm not arguing one way or the other. I make kid-lit content, so, you know. I'm not going to argue one way or the other, but you have minors on these sites, they're using it unsupervised, and they want the site to be changed to suit their needs. Rather than, I don't know, change your feed? Don't follow people who post things that upset or bother you? I don't know. Like they lack the emotional maturity to understand how to navigate those situations, but everyone else is expected to kind of
Cowtail?
Facilitate their usage. Because I mean, I know people who they have like young teenage, like 13, 14, and they have Twitter accounts, but they're only allowed to use it if one of their parents is like hanging out and watching what they're doing. So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna sound like old man yelling at cloud, but like when Joseph and I were younger, this was the heyday of LiveJournal. You didn't have that constant, instant access to somebody else unless you had their AIM name. You couldn't, or ICQ name or whatever. You couldn't like tell off your favorite artist for not making your favorite ship canon unless they posted their email address and made themselves available.
People wrote letters, yeah.
People did write letters. People wrote some nasty letters. But I think a lot of artists, and I think I'm very fortunate because I don't get this kind of feedback often. I think a lot of artists are very overwhelmed by fans who are very cruel to them, while all the while being like, I'm your biggest fan, and are also very they just have like unrealistic expectations of what a person who is making a webcomic for free owes their fans, which is nothing. They owe them nothing. Yeah, like someone is like, hey, it's not okay for you to talk to people like that, then it becomes like a whole thing, because I think some of them don't have the emotional maturity yet to see the difference, to understand the difference between like someone criticizing your behavior and you can learn from it and you're not being canceled, they're going to give you room to grow, and somebody being like, you have done this like 60 times, I'm blocking you, we're done with this. Yeah. So Tally says, this is why my brother didn't want me to have social media, because of dealing with hateful people or not understanding. You know, I can definitely get that. There has been a lot of times where I have felt that if I didn't feel like I needed Twitter to progress professionally as a comic artist, I would be done. And I used to like Twitter a lot. So I understand where your brother is coming from. And I'm not arguing, I'm just sharing my own experience. The angry comments, the nasty comments, it's not that frequent. Once a year, maybe twice a year, I'll get somebody who like, they're just I don't even always know why they're mad at me, because they don't tell me why they're mad at me, they just attack. They're like, you're not as nice as you think you are, and they attack my art. And I'm just over here like, when have we ever interacted? But that's like twice a year, and quite possibly someone was just having a bad day and decided I was a good punching bag. You know, I don't know. But anyway, I don't like have, other than like, I think parents should supervise everything their kids are doing online. That I grew up with that, so that's part of the reason I feel that way. But I also have had a lot of friends who have stories of being harassed or stories of being stalked. And I didn't have those experiences, and I think some of that was my mom stepping in and like severing ties so I didn't have to deal with it as a child. But I think more parental supervision over online spaces can help stop some of those situations from happening. So like with this channel, like I always, and I'll say it again, like if you're a minor watching my content, I really hope you're watching it with a parent or an adult and not by yourself. Not because I intentionally create questionable content, but because I can't curate every aspect of this experience to protect you. My chat is 99% of the time super friendly, very nice people, but I can't guarantee 100%. So the only way you will be 100% safe is if your parents are with you. So yeah. I mean, the no social media till 16, I'm torn, because like on the one hand I'm like, that's a really good idea because there's all these studies that show how actually detrimental it is and how it can really eat up their self-esteem. But then on the other hand, everyone at their school has it, and that's just another reason you're getting bullied. So I don't know. I understand. And yeah, the constant parent supervision, that also comes with like either I mean, it's not the worst if you're like a cis heterosexual child, you know, like, because like but like, yeah, if you're LGBT, if your parents are not okay with that, if they haven't accepted that, then it definitely drastically limits the positive resources you have access to. Right. Well, yeah, I definitely understand that. And I mean, there were things I looked up as a teenager that I didn't know what they were, and I heard people talking about it, and I was curious what it was, that got me grounded, because it's like, why are you looking this up? Well, I heard people talking about it at school. Well, you're grounded, you know? Like, my dad was real big on that. So I can definitely understand that concern. We don't have kids, and I don't have a solution. All I can do is, as someone who makes content, strongly suggest and strongly request that when minors are consuming my content, they do so with parent permission and supervision, because that's my responsibility as the person who's making this content. I understand. Man, we need a better world is all there is to it. And I'm so sorry. Anyway, I have to end it tonight because this is getting depressing, and I don't have any solutions. So I'm sorry, because I want to protect kids who are using the internet. Yeah, for sure, it should be handled case by case, but I still feel like, as a content creator, when I am talking to people about consuming my content specifically, that they should do so with parental supervision. And it would be different on a case by case basis. Okay. All right. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'm going to continue the tutorial.
Did you want to mention the charm thing again?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I'm going to continue the tutorial, so that'll be up soon. I also want to remind you guys, in case you missed it earlier on, I'm doing a charm giveaway. All I ask, and I really need this as a huge favor for me, if you've read 7-Inch Kara, if you've enjoyed 7-Inch Kara, whether it's the webcomic or it's volume 1, however you've consumed 7-Inch Kara, it would be a massive help if you sent me an audio file of you talking about what you like about 7-Inch Kara. So it could just be like, you could record a memo on your phone and send that to me. Or if you want to send a video clip, if that's easier for you, that's fine. You don't have to show your face. You can record a butterfly flying over some flowers while you talk over it. Or you could record yourself drawing Kara if you really, really want to do that. That would be amazing. It doesn't have to be your face. I want to use it in the Kickstarter video to help promote the comic itself. Some real people who have actually enjoyed the comic, talking about why they enjoy the comic. Those kind of testimonials, that kind of word of mouth is huge. It makes such a big difference. And I value your time, so I thought maybe sweetening the pot, incentivizing it, because it's worth a lot to me, maybe making it worthwhile to you. So you get your pick of one of these wooden charms. I'll pay for shipping. I'll mail it if you're US based.
One of them's kind of standing. Oh, never mind. It's just not folding.
Okay. None of them are standing. So we have like the llama love. We have the coffee mermaid, which is definitely a vibe. And some of them have pin backs, and some of them they're just charms, and I can either make them star keychains or I can make them necklaces. We have a really cute bobcat with a pin back. We've got a cute dino with a pin back. We've got the Winky Witch with the stick pin back. We've got the Lucky Bouquet, and it even has like a 4-leaf clover with the stick pin back. We have the very cute strawberries with strawberry flowers and strawberry leaves. We have a small selection of succulents. So we have some really cute charms here. If you decide to do this for me, I would appreciate if you uploaded the file to like Gmail, Google Drive, or OneDrive, or Dropbox, thank you, and sent me the link via email. And then when you send me the link, you can also send me your mailing address so I can send the charm out to you. And that's it. It's a huge help, and if you could do it ideally like the 7th, that would be awesome, because then we can use it in the video. But if you can't get it to me by the 7th, anytime this month is fine, because it still would be helpful. So yeah, doesn't have to be long, can be super short. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week with the launch pajama party. Bye guys.